Okay, I guess we will start. So Radu is a staff iOS engineer at Contour, and today we speak about large-scale Xcode migrations in organizations. So please give a warm round of applause for him.
Should I leave now because I got my applause? But I will stay because we need to eat something. All right, guys. So thank you for joining this flawless Xcode migrations presentation. I think if you've been part to medium or large teams, you might feel the hustle when a new Xcode comes out and you have to migrate that code base to the new Xcode. And also, if you're like a solo developer, an indie app developer, and you have some kind of a more or less complex application, and you have to, and that application has some external dependencies, you probably felt the pain when you had to migrate to a new Xcode. But I promise you, after like 45 minutes, maybe more, life will become much easier. You'll probably steal some techniques from this talk, and it will be easy peasy your next migration. So I'm Radu. I work as a, I think, staff iOS engineer at Conto. I've been leading the migrations team for the past 2 years, and I'm proud that we had a process that had the migrations being done in a month period or even more. And of course, some of them took less, into a few days right now. And besides iOS coding, I like to run, jog. I actually went by foot from the train station here, and I was like, oh, now I can take the walk and I can see the beautiful environment and the things, but I was like walking on my phone like that. But anyways. And to play games with my baby daughter. You might have guessed, my daughter is right, oh sorry, that one. She has the Peppa umbrella, but now she's a big fan of Paw Patrol. Is it Pat Patrouille in French, I guess. And like those bunch of dogs, the puppies are saving the town. This is how our life with Xcode migration was, like saving the code base, the town, from the weird errors that are coming, like those dogs saving their town from unexpected things, situations every day. So yeah, we'll start as you might guess, with being angry. Like it's beautiful to be angry, and see what kind of frustrations we expect when we have to migrate to a new Xcode. Then we're going to bring that Kaizen spirit. I will explain later what's Kaizen spirit and what do I mean about that. Then I'm going to tell you a story about how it went for us during the major Xcode migration, Xcode 16. And finally, we'll see some future directions with some crazy stuff with AI, because everyone is AI liquid glass. Now, your Xcode migrations. Right, so frustrations. We have frustrations from two different lenses. You have the individual ones, you as a person, what kind of negative energy you feel, but you also have your team's frustrations, the impact that your team feels when it deals with a migration. And imagine this, you come to the office, you have your coffee into one hand, you have the laptop there, you can't wait to finish your feature, and voila, you are seeing a Slack message saying, oh, we migrate to a new Xcode, it's time to take the new Xcode and download it and work with it. On one hand, you are happy about it. Like you always wanted to try those new Swift syntactic sugars, and so on. But on the other hand, you're still a bit late with your feature. You just need to finish something there. So not that great. So you start wondering, where should you download the new Xcode? Is it from the App Store? Is it from the Xcode app? Is it from a App Store developer website? Who knows? Then you make a decision, and you later compare your decision with your more experienced colleague, asking him, hey, I've downloaded Xcode. From where we should go, we should download the new Xcode. And he's saying something like, oh, you should use the Xcode app because it offers you a better variation and handling Xcode in a better way. But you've downloaded that Xcode from an obscure website, and now you have to battle with IT security, helping you remove that malware that came with the Xcode archive. I mean, this is extreme, but I think you get the point. And you're not yet done. You have that zipped archive on your drive, and then you need to unarchive it. Now it's better. Apple improved this process, but a couple of years ago, I'm not sure if you remember, you unzipped from 0 to 90%, and it took like 15 minutes, 10 minutes or so, and that 1% took 20 more minutes, of course, and more than the time it went from 0 to 99. And that was a pain. You need to wait to get it unzipped. And what do you do next? You take the binary and you put it into the applications folder. You say yes to every pop-up that comes up. Yeah, you're sure about that. Go there. But then you discover, oh, you overwritten that previous old Xcode. But you still need that one because your current application, your current feature you're working on still has to do some work, and you still need that Xcode version. And you repeat the same dance, you download it, and the old version you put in the applications folder. And now you're finally done. You can open, you see the blue icon in front of your eyes, and you double click it with joy and click the mouse, but this kind of error comes out. Like Core Simulator runtime error, a lot of words there with the bundle identifier. You make a good judgment call and restart your laptop, and that error goes away. But then you'll have to download the runtimes and so on. Right, so what should take like a few minutes, close to 1 hour, it took you the whole day or like noon day. And it should not be like that. You should like spend less time to work with the new Xcode. You should not find ways to bypass those errors and so on. And now, if you have two versions of Xcode, you have to switch between the old version and the new one. It creates a lot of complexity in your head. Like you can need to switch tools. Like you check out the main branch, either you have the new Xcode, but on your local branch you have the old Xcode and so on. And after you do that, you see another error. Compile module was created by a different version of the compiler, 5.10.0.13. Rebuild Swift Emoki and try again. What the heck that does it even mean? Like a lot of words right there. You have compile module, but I was trying to compile the project. Why do I have to compile the module? But it was compiled, and then it starts to click in your head. Different version of the compiler. But with Swift ABI stability and with C5, you should have like new version of Swift should work with your current code base. But it seems like if you have like pre-built binaries and you have to use the right compiler to be able to use them in your project. So you start rebuilding those frameworks with the right compiler. And everything creates delays. Like you're struggling with the task and your project gets delayed. You might miss one of the milestones, and in case you miss some milestones, then you have more issues. And there's also stability concerns. You have to deal with a lot of unknown issues. Nothing is stable anymore, and it's a difficult period. Right, and after you encounter those kind of situations, you need to fight with your external dependencies. Each dependency needs to be checked. You should go to GitHub Open Issues to see if it's compatible with the new Xcode. You have multiple packages. In last year, we had like multiple ways to add our external dependencies. We had Cocoa Pods and SPM, and we also had some static frameworks in the project, and it was quite complex to deal with every dependency management system and so on. So now we're good. We're having just SPM in our project, but back then, imagine handling all those external vendors and so on. And of course, you have binary cache issues. We decided to cache the binaries produced by Cocoa Pods and store them in the remote repository, but you also have a local repository for those binaries. And that local repository, if you don't you don't clear it out before you take the new Xcode and migrate to the new Xcode, it will get easily out of sync with the remote one. So then you'll have to deal with those kind of compilation issues that I showed you. You might get unexpected API changes. Apple might change some of the APIs of the new frameworks, and they will break your project and so on. And in the end, it takes a lot of time to fix each dependency and with all the issues that brings with it. Oh, all right. So you have now the complete project, you get it fixed, you run the application on a simulator, you perform a flow, you log in, you feel like very confident, it seems all right, but you still need to take care of the other part, like assuring your quality of the application. And here comes the testing avalanche. You need to fix the unit test, you need to fix the UI test, acceptance test, the integration test, and all the other tests that you're having. And most occasions are breaking. We also have to deal with simulator runtime issues. In Conto, we dealt with a crazy situation. I'm not sure if you guys had the same experience as us, but when we upgraded the Mac operation system to Sequoia, the simulator would get stuck when we had to run the unit tests. And this happened because for some reason, it could not copy some RAM files, some processes from its location on disk to the developers' directories. And it would clone itself multiple times, it went like clone 987 of the simulator, and it repeated the same process all over again, I think by the end of time, or until like your laptop was, I give up, just deal with that. And what we did to fix it was to create a few scripts that would wipe out those problematic files because they were not needed for the simulator. And these kind of situations might arouse with a new Xcode. And you also need to fix your example apps if you have them. As part of Conto, we have this kind of example apps, demo applications that verify a part of the functionality, some dedicated screens. You don't have to go through the full application to check it. We exemplify just a small feature, a subset of it. But each example app has its own target, and each target needs to be fixed so it can work. All right, and you have manual testing, and you have to make sure like you're not introducing regressions and so on. And keeping track of everything takes time. If you want to have a dedicated documentation, it takes you time to update it. All right, that was your own inner frustrations, but the other lens is your team frustrations. And when we say team frustrations, we most likely bring up a new thing into the equation, the continuous integration solution. And here, if you need to support different Xcode versions, you might encounter something like a pipeline instability. Your pipelines don't like work as they would expect. You see more flakiness over your tests, and it's a pain to keep multiple environments in parallel. You have your pipelines, your actions working on one environment, but you still need to have in parallel the new environment which is configured differently from the one that your team uses. And imagine having this for 80 persons as we are in Conto. And we also dealt, before introducing Twist, I saw you in your presentation, it was very good, you've introduced Twist. And we had PBX projects, like every time someone merged into dev, we were like, oh. And we had to go through the big file of the PBX to fix those conflicts. And solutions like Twist help you with that. And until we fully modularized and migrated our project to Twist, we had to deal with these kind of situations. And those kind of things, like running multiple pipelines, multiple tests on the CI, and producing builds for your testers, clock out the CI. It like wastes a lot of resources, and you might end up into an overflow of credit consumption. You like pay more for your CI solution. Those solutions might degrade using like less resources. You don't benefit from M4 Maxes. You just go with Intel i9 chip and so on. And create deployment delays. You cannot build your application for testers, for test flight, Firebase, and so on. And in the end, everything it's more complex when you have to migrate to the new Xcode. And I cannot even say about the commission overflow. Like after you merge something into the mainstream, into the main branch, then and if that thing breaks because of your migration, then you need to create dedicated groups fixing that problem, and you need to constantly report the progress. You need to align between multiple teams and coordinate with multiple teams affecting their work. And the knowledge sharing might get lost as you do that. It might be spread into a Slack thread, might be left in a comment in Notion or in a page in Notion. or other like solution that you use for documentation at your project. And it's very difficult to maintain this kind of documentation, and I cannot say like I hate meetings, and mostly probably you hate meetings as well, and you have to align between multiple teams in meetings about the issues that you've introduced. And of course, it's important to maintain also the vendors' compatibility points of contact, like allocating some persons that like can bring the external vendors, asking about the issues, if it's related to the new Xcode that you brought into the project or not, and this takes time. And the productivity is impacted. We had like migrations taking more than 3 weeks. Imagine one person coming to the office every day, opening Xcode and working 8 hours trying to fix errors related to a new Xcode. That's insane. And I'm not even counting the time that Apple launched officially the stable version of the Xcode and the time we started the migration process. And this was like a big time, like months of waiting period. You cannot plan for these kind of situations because you don't know how long it will last. We would expect like major versions to last longer, but we also dealt with minor updates like from 15.4 to 15.6, for example. It took a lot of time. And there were like some shortcuts that we took, like we had some flaky tests that we could not be able to understand what was the cause, or they were like very unpredictable. And then we decided to skip them, we decided to comment out or simply delete them and test the production code by hand, like manually. And all of this, these kind of decisions create like quality gaps, risks, regression points, and so on. All right, now we inspire, like we saw everything that it's a negative format, and we need to bring something good to improve this kind of process. And Kaizen spirit, Kaizen is a word from Japanese, which means like essentially continuous improvement, and the deep belief that some dramatic positive change can happen if you take like small steps under that direction. You don't expect something to be fixed by another person, by your manager, by your boss, but you should take matters in your hands. And this is what Kaizen essentially means, like empowers individuals to take action and fix the problems. Fix a broken window because you have the capability to do it. All right, so we adopted this mentality with the Kaizen spirit, and then, I mean, we saw the issues, we kind of were like understandable, we knew where to look, but we still need some data over the issues to be sure, like we're focusing the attention on the right spots and so on. So the current process, we had like a small table here, a database describing each migration and like some metrics, the captain's mood, the effort in days, and some comments. There were like a lot of other columns. But what was important to highlight is like the captain was very upset during those migrations, and the effort was insane. Like you have 17 days there, 15 days, and a full-time person working on that. It's insane. And we also took at the migration guide. Spoiler: it will be oh my god, it's very long. You'd had to lose a finger while you scroll through that document, and you see there like. We started with something, and then the next part of the continuity of the guide, it was like after a few sections below. It didn't quite make sense. Those steps were not in order, and we had to look at different previous migrations, how it went, to understand what kind of step made sense. Take, for example, this one with the dependencies. Like if a dependency cannot compile, you should upgrade that dependency and migrate it and upgrade it and put it in the project. But maybe the compile problem is not caused by the new Xcode. And also with the binaries from the Cocoa pods, we had some Boolean flag into the pod file that could turn them like as a zipped archive or a cache. But we didn't know exactly how they worked, so we kind of did the same step at the beginning, and at the end we repeated a couple of times to be sure, which was like not the good way to do it. All right, and yeah, our heads exploded when we like followed that guide. We had too many redundant steps. The template structure had a lot of issues, and also as part of the guide, we had a lot of manual steps. It was like very prone to errors. No clear validation after you completed a section or a few steps. You're not sure if what should happen. Like if the project would compile, is it a good thing, or we should still wait to complete 3 more steps to be able to do that. And there was no clear standard for the external dependencies. We were not sure like what kind of dependency should be updated, where to look, do we have like a page for contacts and so on. I mentioned the success criteria. We are not sure if like 3 weeks is a good thing or 1 week is a bad thing, this kind of situation. No documentation. I mentioned already, you had like when you rush to and try to fix stuff, you don't you should like take a step back and try to retrospectively check how did you fix that error and try to make the life easier for your next colleague. But in our case, the documentation was scattered everywhere. All right, and also it's an important metric is these things called red beans, which is like Conto's way to measure quality gaps, quality issues. We just file a page where we describe the context of the problem, and we have small details about the timeline when it happened and the history for that. So nothing to consume a lot of time for us. It's important for us to state those quality issues, to state those bugs, and not to blame. This is not the scope of them. It's just to make them visible so we know how to improve the process. And there were like a few red beans that we filed. And those problems, the quality issues, are analyzed later by us with the process PDCA. It's not specific to Conto, it's like a methodology, plan, do, check, act. You try to create some small countermeasures that isolate the problem very well. You then try to see how they would work on a broader topic. You check them, and in case they make sense, then you move to the act part where you make standards, documentation, you spread the knowledge with the full team, so they know how to react when the next problem comes. All right, and that exposed the problems that we spoke, like we had a lengthy migration time. We had a lot of tests that were like redundant. We spent a lot of time manually checking everything. Also the configuration that were like the build settings of the Xcode were analyzed by the eyes of the developers, checking, oh right, that configuration was like different with the new Xcode. And this should not happen. You should rely on Twist or some other dependency that generates for you those config files. And there was inconsistent communications, channels where you didn't like weren't quite good at it. And we had different environments for it, but we tended to not use as good the environment on the CI, and that created some redundancy for us. The documentation was forgotten. We didn't like take care to update it in time. And here you'd see like a good example of some commit history of a person that performed a migration. And from the start, he mentioned a few problems about the UI tests. He encountered some issues with the Spotlight search to tab. So when the new Xcode came out, the APIs were kind of changed, and how we performed those steps to open a deep link into the application, like going to Safari, typing the URL and entering, and we would expect the app to be opened, got some issues, so he found some alternatives there. And also issues with the Xcode, PBXproj, pods files, and so on, bitcode problems, and so on. All right, and finally we took a look at the spikes. We would expect a spike to happen, like a spike in time, when are the most lengthy migrations. We would expect those spikes to happen on major Xcode versions from 15 to 16 or so. But we also encounter spikes on the minor ones, and we conducted some interviews with those persons, and one of our colleagues said like it had some issues with the pods. It went like QAing some stuff there that didn't make sense, and there were also issues with the UI tests that we mentioned. So people were like analyzing UI tests, even if the migration didn't cause the problems with the UI tests, but they spent a lot of time investigating the issues. All right, so we had unraveled the problems. We had unpredictable UI tests. The cache management was not correctly understood, and we didn't create the right way of using the cache. We kept a long-running branch, so imagine having that branch working in a code base where it's shared by 80 other developers. It's a mess, and it's very complex to keep up to date your project. And you also have to deal with dependencies, external dependencies, conflicts, fix them, try to learn what caused them, and so on. All right, and we were sure, we knew the problems, we made them visible. Now it was time to improve the process. And first thing we wanted to track the new Xcode when it came out. We applied multiple actors. We have the CI/CD, which, by the way, we're using Bitrise for the solution. And we created a schedule in Bitrise that could run some scripts from our local repository. You see there the Xcode checker. And that script would make an API request to xcodereleases.com, fetch the list of Xcode versions from the website. And with that version of Xcode releases, we'd know, hey, this is a stable version, this is a beta version. When it came out, do something with the JSON, with the API response. And finally, pack those results and send them to our communication, to the Slack channels. And here you see some different variations of the message. If you see this hedgehog, this means bad. This has spikes and it creates some pain in your fingers if you put the hand on it. And it's saying you're currently using Xcode 16.1, which is not the latest stable version of Xcode. Here is the latest stable, it's 16.3. You have some information that were parsed from that website, like the release date, what Swift compiler version it uses, SDK. And if you click show more, nothing happens because, but something happened there, it's actually working. You get some release note links and a download link for the new Xcode. And also have different variations of that message saying about, hey, you have the bunny, that's a good thing. You're using the latest stable version of Xcode, but you should watch out because you have a pre-release, a release candidate that you should check out, or some beta version that you should start playing. Or the final boss, you have the bunny with not that many information, like you're using the latest stable and that's it, you're good. And the scripts we have at Conto an infrastructure with Swift scripts. I mean, it's great to learn different programming languages, especially for scripting, such as Python, because Bash and some other things. But we also have a way to create scripts through Swift, and we did that. Well, we try to follow the same architecture standards with atomic use case, clean architecture, use cases like handling one business requirement, pretty granular, focusing on just one specific task. And here you see get current Xcode version, which simply reads from the repository the current version that we're using. You have that file Xcode version at the end over there. Fetch Xcode version use case, which makes a network API request to xcodereleases.com website. Nothing fancy, it's just a simple URL session that fetches the results. And we have there some converters, transforming the remote model into a domain, into an entity, and then sorting the results by the release date. And everything is put together in one place. We get the current Xcode version, so this is the entry point of the script. We launch it, and then it invokes those specific atomic use cases. We then parse the list of the Xcode versions. We check what is the latest beta, because it was important to also check the betas. This will help us prevent something or try out the new things earlier. Then don't wait for the stable one to get out. And finally, we would pack the results into a message that was sent on Slack by invoking a simple fast lane action, just calling the Slack message. And here is the Slack channel, Kaizen Xcode migrations. And that script was invoked by a Bitrise schedule. Xcode releases report is called there. And we discovered, for us, it was working every week, or the schedule. We experimented different situations, but every week was more than enough to find out if a new version came out. Of course, if you have RSS feeds, you can create more flexibility with that, but we wanted an in-house solution here. And it simply invoked the script desk action from Bitrise Xcode releases.check, which was the Swift binary script. All right, so we had it like a way to monitor and anticipate new Xcode releases. We had integrated with Slack, and we also could like check what are the new betas from Xcode. Pretty insane. The next step was to rewrite the whole migration guide, and this is what we ended up. Now we have like specific chapters, specific steps with clear results. They are like clear, and we also like reduce considerably the size of it. You make sure the new Xcode is stable and some other steps. We had Cocoa pods back then, as I mentioned, right? We're not using, so we had to eliminate those particular steps, and that quite reduced the complexity compared to the previous one, which was very insane. All right, so now we have had a streamlined process. We had validation. So we created validation steps. We knew like when we finish something, we knew like we are in a good path. For example, make the project compile locally, make it run locally, then move to the CI, make the CI setup and so on. And we follow the best practices, trying to adhere to the principles, the architecture and the quality standards that we set for the main project. And we were like feeling very good about this. Oh, okay, we should drink champagne, we should go out with the boys and so on. And then we asked the team, hey, what do you think about this? Like we were imagining being senior staff engineers, CTOs, like starting our own company with this. And we like launched a few Google Forms spreadsheet. Let me zoom out. Don't mind the responses. We also conducted some individual like questionnaires and asked directly the persons there. And what this question, when someone announces that an Xcode migration is in progress, is it clear what you need to do next? And for more than or close to 30% was like not clear what they should do. Like it's something like we should like be a bit careful and try to improve. Also some other questions here. I will zoom in a bit. And also, what are your pain points when you have to migrate to a new Xcode? And there were like answers like the migration process is not clear to me. I do not understand why I should do the migration. And there were like people having this kind of situations. They were like not sure, and this like created some improvement points for us. Yeah, first thing was to improve our communication. Like we did a great job, but if nobody knew about it or nobody knows what to do when we announce an Xcode migration, we should definitely improve the communication. And we created a few messages, like some template messages that could be used by the person in charge of the migration, the migration captain, all incorporated into those the process, the migration guide. And we announced when a new Xcode came out, having like a way for people to reach out to us in case they have problem. We also mentioned when do we expect the new Xcode to be added to the main branch. We provide information where the people can download the new Xcode and also where they can find out the branch, and we encourage them to take the changes and apply them to their future branch so they are prepared when the new Xcode will be merged into the main branch. And finally, when we were like ready, we merged the Xcode. We also announced into the Slack channels, like we merged it. We mentioned how longer the CI will run with the old stack and when they should migrate to the new Xcode. And we created also a calendar where people could subscribe and get their notifications in. Like when a new Xcode comes out, they will be notified, and when the process kicks in, we kind of created this calendar so people can know about the process. We had a dedicated Q&A section with clear answers, like what you should do when an Xcode migration is announced. We like described there what should you do when the Xcode migration has been merged, and you have clear information about that. A troubleshooting section, which is a long subsection, contains sub-pages where people could find out past issues, could find out links to Slack threads that we encountered that kind of problem, and they could easily see how can they work and fix that problem with what we experienced in the past. And we made visible the process. This was the first iteration of the process. It was like for us 5 days to migrate to a new Xcode. It was quite insane compared to weeks, months of like the previous migration. And on the first day, we started to make sure the new Xcode is being stable. We set up the local environment, like downloading the new Xcode, make it unzipped, put it into the application and so on. And we wanted to enforce this as a side project, like not the main activity of your work, and spread this through a longer period so people can focus on other things. Maybe they would like to be involved into a different task, or they are like focused on a specific feature. Now, the next day was important for the code base to work locally. This means running the application, running the unit tests, the UI tests, and so on. Then set up the CI environment. And here we allocated 1 day because we had the problem. Our configuration YAML file was out of sync. The one from the repository was out of sync with the one from the CI's infrastructure, from the one from Bitrise. And people started to modify directly in the CI without like making those changes also on the local repository. And we ended up having a lot of changes, not knowing from where they came out. And now it's good. We have it those files in sync, and people are making in one place those changes. But back then we didn't had this opportunity, and we like said, okay, this should take 1 day for us to set up the CI environment. And the next day would be to fully focus on making the code base work on the CI, running the primary pipelines on the CI and make everything work. And finally, merge the feature branch and perform some last steps like updating documentation, improving the process, some improvement points over there. You might wonder why we start on Thursday. Oh, come on. It wasn't like a show more button, but I still did the magic. Well, because we had like 1 week releases, and the rollout went for 4 days, from Monday to Wednesday. And we wanted to protect that release, and that's why we started on Thursday, and we plan to finish on Wednesday. So the next and the current release were like protected. Now we don't care that much. We perform like 1 day releases, 2 per week usually. And then we asked again the team, what do they think? Again, don't mind the responses there. We also like asked persons individually. And we asked, when someone announces that an Xcode migration is in progress, is declared what you need to do next. And it was definitely a success. We have like more than 90% people now. It's clear for them what they need to do. Also, they were clear about what they need to do, what they need to prepare. Their process was very clear for their team. All right, good. And we didn't stop. Like we wanted to improve even more. Like those manual steps created some burden for us, and then we decided to go into some migration scripts, create some automation for us, and of course we did some Swift scripts improving the manual steps, like cleaning the binaries there. We had to with Cocoa was working there, creating the branches, going to the Git and creating those PRs for us. And also we have the make commands. As we adopted Twist, instead of going through generating the project, generating the Twist manifest, we created some automation with the make commands, adding more subscripts to the process. Like we have a way to generate copies, localized strings, and it would like be part of the make commands, make application, and it would generate everything, and you'd like start coding. Your code base would be then outputted to your directory. And those scripts were fully working with our Git repository, were working right on the flow. And you see here a small CLI part. When you had to migrate to a new Xcode, you'd see this kind of intro. A message which like formed, we're going to create a new branch for migration, please make sure, blah blah. You have some links where you could download the Xcode, so it was much easier for the person that performed the migration to actually do it. And if you click yes, then the series of scripts will be launched, and then perform the migration or some steps of it, because you still had to do that. Now, the story about how it went for the major Xcode upgrade. So we started the improvement before the major Xcode upgrade last year from 15 to 16. And we started with creating the plan. Here we wanted to follow the Conto way, like we have a dedicated process where you don't jump into the code and start coding there. But we go into a phase called value engineering, which lasts around 1 week, and you'd like find some hard points to explore, some problems that you think are important for your use case, and we follow this structured approach. We planned and had a clear objective of meeting like when the stable version of Xcode would be launched. Then in 2.5 weeks we should like all 90% people from the iOS team should have the new Xcode. And we'd have one person having to migrate to the new Xcode, supported by one lead. And also we defined the release strategy. We've tried to follow the same approach. We didn't have something special for this major Xcode upgrade. We defined the pull schedule, which is like a calendar graph Gantt where you have the important milestones highlighted there. And another objective was we didn't want to create any kind of delays for our business. Like that was a key thing, 0 delay objective for the ongoing projects. And clear ownership and responsibilities assigned to everyone part of the project. And that was the plan. We started to define the list of workshops, like do we need to upgrade our gems? We have Ruby versions and so on. Do we need to upgrade our external dependencies? Do we need to upgrade Twist and so on? And there are like a list of examples here. We put them into a database, and each workshop had a clear decision as you progressed with the hard points and the unknowns. You've like spent time investigating those problems, and at the end you'd like launch a decision about the workshop's motto. And you have like what is our release strategy, and you should mention there what it is, and so on. And they are part of a different workshop, a different page, a different thing. And yeah, they have specific owners, and you have there some other fields as well. All right, so we went through this phase. We started with the betas of the Xcode 16, and we unraveled a few weird errors. We found out like NS decimal round was a bit changed and it was not working as expected for us. We had some implementation issues with it. We had to change some of the modules, like provide some alternatives for some critical components. And due to that decimal round thing, we also had to fix the VAT calculation. It requires some updates there on the business logic. The test frameworks, we were using KIF, and we are still using KIF. I'm not sure if you heard about it. It's like a framework used for UI testing, but it runs the tests on a unit test target, so they are like very fast. But unfortunately, that test framework didn't quite work with iOS 18. And we had to fork the repository and provide the fixes by ourselves, because by the time they fixed that, we were like wanting to benefit from the new Xcode. And also we had an issue with Danger. Danger is like a tool, you attach it to the PRs and it gives you like some quality gates information, such as if you modify a module specific to a design system component, for example, and you don't create snapshot tests, so you don't create a small example application to verify the change, then you have a warning on your PR saying that, yeah, you should take care about that. And what's the good thing about it? We just removed it, like we don't care about it. I mean, we decided like that because people were not quite using Danger at its maximum capability, but that gave time for the Danger team to fix the issues, and we would like continue our migration. And of course, the external dependencies. For each external dependency, we created a table, a database again, and the important thing is like we had a column where we're saying yes or no if it needs updating, and we went through the open GitHub issues, checking if they like have issues with the betas, if they have some crashes, and we mentioned in this table those crashes, provided links to that documentation, and we could like make a decision if it's yeah, we should upgrade that external dependency or not. And here you'd see like a few notes about it. Right, and the beta testing, as we started the value engineering phase, which is the phase before starting the build, like coding, the migration, we had issues with the iOS 18 platform. We also experienced some weird errors on the CI where for some reason Fastlane did not pick the right device, even though we were like mentioning the ID or we creating by hand that device. For some reason he didn't care about our information and it picked iPhone 6 and it was like all of our tests were not passing and it was insane. And then we have found some ways to fix that problem by hard coding the name of the device into the test parameter. And the snapshot tests with we had some 0.5 pixel, 1 pixel changes that were like failing the whole suite of snapshot tests. Even though we decreased the precision of them, we still had some errors. But because we were like beta testing, we decided to regenerate all of the snapshots because it was quite insane to go through all the snapshots. There were like a lot of them. So a good way to unblock us is to regenerate the snapshots. And I mentioned already about the KIF test automation framework, which requires some updates. And yeah, about the snapshots, we posted some notes. During the VE, as I mentioned, we had like notes about what was the problem. We had like 3K of images to analyze. It was quite insane. And yeah, those pixels were, okay, let's regenerate them, check a few flows and then see if it's working. What else? Well, we were pretty happy when we saw our first Firebase build. Like we're using Firebase for in-house testing. Also, we have test flight versions. But when we saw that Firebase build happening, we would download it from our device, say yes to the trust certificate. And it like simply opened up the full screen and crashed, of course. And it was like having this kind of experience was like a bit demotivating. But the problem was like even if you like put the bit code as part of the binary, set it to enabling, it would for some reason, as we did with the pods, would like change back that property. So we had to regenerate and create a specific script in the pod file that would recompile the builds. All right, the snapshot tests were broken and also the integration tests were failing. There were some issues so we have the code base pretty modularized, but we experienced some issues in one of the module. And one crazy was the UI activity item source. Something changed in the UI kit and how Apple created the framework in iOS 18. And we used, as part of some unit tests, UI activity item source, and those unit tests were simply crashing without like mentioning a correct thread where we could investigate what happened. But we finally spotted it was caused by the activity item source, and we created an abstraction for it, and we mocked the actual class into the tests. And also some issues with the collection views. For some reason, the cells, when you scrolled, it didn't decode in a good way, and we had some weird crashes about the index or like out of bounds. Anyways, you have those red bins, if you remember, which like file the issues that you encountered. Like they're like a thing to file the issues that already happened. But we also have like add-ons, like during the value engineering, we spotting a quality problem, like Firebase and crashing on launch or some module tests start breaking. That problem wasn't happening anyway. It's like a way to react on them. So we filed them and we assigned an owner to fix that problem. And the outcome was like the decision when the stable version came out, what we should do with that. So we were prepared. We performed the migration, everything went well. And then we performed the success analysis, and it was good because we created no delays for others. Like people could like manage their own features, assure business continuity, and there was no delays for them. We were ready in 1 week. It was quite insane, but we had to wait for our work to be merged into main branch because we have those project dependencies. We could not have created the zero delay issue for the other. So. All right, so relying on third parties, what are the key learnings here? The third parties are bad. You should be extra careful, especially if you have many of them into the code base. You need to get prepared. Snapshots, again, might become problematic if you have a lot of them. It's better to regenerate them, but be careful. Like some can be actually issues. A lot of weird errors, like. Beta testing is very good. We managed to anticipate the problems early. We could develop a plan to fix them. It was very good. Maintaining an effective communication was key for success, and we didn't create any kind of project delays because nobody wants to have their project delayed because we migrated to a new Xcode. Doesn't, especially for business. Okay. We started with the frustrations, a lot of negative energy. Then we had to overcome them. We had adopted the Kaizen spirit and shaped where we wanted to go. Like from month of mess of inferno, then we want to spend 1 week for that. We started to track the Xcode migrations. We gathered feedback about the process. What were the team challenges and what do they think about it? It was very important to shape our next direction. We improved the communication. We iterated over the process. We started checking the betas first, and then we moved into automation when we were sure that the process was good and was working. Where do you see the future for the Xcode migration? And we already started a few POCs, POCs with it. We're trying to automate more steps from there. Now that we have Twist, we have a more modularized code base. We don't use Cocoa Pods anymore. We have one way to handle external dependencies. We definitely can automate more steps from the migration guide. We also want to rely more on the AI tools. We have a section in the guide where the person that performs the migration should do a small research, like checking if the new Xcode is stable by going to Reddit forums, checking Xcode release notes. We would like to automate that, going through an AI, and create some external MCPs, some internal server MCPs that could be invoked from an LLM client like a Cursor, and it will fetch the information for us and create a wrapper over the Swift scripts that you already have. By the way, we will have an official Swift SDK to build those MCPs, so that should be fun. And we started to do that. And it would be nice to not use your local machine for migrations and create some virtual, implement the virtual machines to perform the Xcode migrations. And why not to reduce the new Xcode migration to a few hours or even less, 1 hour, as we had it 1 day right now. All right, guys, thank you so much. I think it was a long one, but thank you for your attention. If you have questions. Yeah, if you have questions. I did not expect any questions, come on.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm curious, how many apps do you need to migrate after each new Xcode version? Because we only have one, so it seems for us it is very simple to migrate our apps. But I'm curious, how many apps do you have to migrate?
So yeah, for us it's the same simple situation. We have one app, but as part of the larger code base, we also have those example apps like demo projects, checking the functionality. So there are plenty of them. There are 10 or maybe more. But we tend to focus on the ones that matter, like for some core business functionality, not do all of them at once. And the specific teams are handling their own demo apps, example apps. It's their responsibility to fix them.
Okay. And how many are you in the developer teams?
How many iOS engineers?
Yes.
We are 80 or something like that.
Okay.
Maybe more. I hope nobody left during this talk.
Okay, thank you.
There was a question out there.
Hey.
Thank you very much for the talk. Yeah, I think Contour is one of the biggest team in France. That's why you don't have the same problem as anyone. My question was, you talk about twist at the beginning, and can you do a small retour of experience on twist, and in what size do you think, what size of the team you think it's good to use twist? Maybe do you use it on your demo app, for example?
Yeah, great question. Thank you so much for it. Personally, I have some small applications, but I don't twist because they are pretty simple. But if you tend to have problems when you build the project, you have like a lot of modules, let's say 10 more, maybe more, and you see like Xcode is not doing a great job building your project, then maybe it starts to pose questions like, hey, let's look at other people that invented this a solution that can help us overcome this build problem. And you don't need to adopt right from the start the whole twist ecosystem. You can go through, they have open source solutions such as Xcode build, and you can fork that repository, see if it works for you, and so on. But I would say twist is great. We also use it for caching right now, and it caches the modules for us, and we have insane, like we can build a project in 10 seconds or so, and we work in some dedicated modules. We don't need to wait for everything to compile if we change a small line of code. So I would say, yeah, it depends about your needs. Start simple, start with some open source solutions from Twist, and then see if it makes sense to, yeah, adopt the full Twist ecosystem.
There is no drawback. You don't want to go back to not using Twist.
The PBX project with thousands of lines and seeing there, okay, this diff, I need to take it there, and then take the changes, and then you compile it, you see some remove references, some redness. We don't want to go back to that.
Last question about Twist. Was it hard to set it up?
I was part of the team that set it up Twist, and we did a lousy job because we created some kind of enums, and we would like have functions with include example apps, include UI tests. Hey, the example app should have tests, and we have like a lot of Boolean flags over those functions. And yeah, if you don't do it good from the start, then it will take more time to work and refactor it. We started like 1 year ago, or maybe more, and we completely adopted in like 1 year or something. It was a long period of time until we hit the end. Sure. Thank you as well. 2 questions.
You've done a lot of work with this migration guide. Do you plan to share the new migration guide to the iOS community, or is it confidential?
I don't have anything to hide. I would like ask. We can share. Like I think we can obscure some important aspects. I don't see a problem why we should not do it.
Okay, and the script too?
We already have it. Just take us the screenshot there. Like.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Thank you as well. Yeah.
Thank you for the great talk. You didn't mention the beta version of Xcode in your process, especially at the moment, for example, with the Xcode 26. How do you consider like doing some early test on the beta version?
Yeah, we already started testing with Xcode 26. Unfortunately, we hit a small blocker with one of the external vendors, and we were waiting for them to fix that part. But we started already with beta 1, and yeah, the liquid glass effect, it will be fun. But you have 1 year period of like, if you toggle on in the property list, you can sit back and eat burgers for 1 year until like things will get easier. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay, thanks. It's okay.
Any last questions, or yeah, please.
Yes. How do you deal with the warnings? I mean, do you fix it as soon as you upgrade your Xcode, or is it a continuous work?
Yeah, good question. Thank you. It is a continuous work. We encountered like a lot of warnings, but if it's something a blocker and the teams wants to act over that warning, then yeah, we fix it right away. If not, we create those things called scalings, which are like capturing the technical depth or improvement points for us that we can tackle when someone has more bandwidth to do, and we do it like that. we wanted to experience also the new syntax with Swift, like the if let and don't put the same variable's name 2 times, and we kind of like did that on the flow because yeah, people wanted to try it out. So it's kind of like a team decision with this. All right, people, you can find me like on LinkedIn, all that crazy. Also, I started to have a small YouTube channel, which is like not that great, but still working on it, and on GitHub. Thank you so much for your time. Hope it was useful. Have a good one.